So, in case you guys don't know about this just yet, there's a new IDW Sonic miniseries coming out. This one is basically dealing with imposters, clones, if you will. And we got a couple of new characters introduced as a part of that. Now, the question though is whether or not it's going to be good. That's going to be obviously up to the audience, to the readers, the subscribers, if you will. However, not everybody is on board with this. Not everybody is on board. One person, matter of fact, is not on board based on what they feel is, very bad history on, Ian Flynn's part, because Ian's the one behind this. That person would be Laviarray. Laviarray, and I do not Laviarray, but Laviarray. They tweeted this about a day ago, and I basically did a screen capture of it, just in case I can have it for record, if you will. But this is what they said about a day ago with the whole imposters situation that's coming out. Now the characters do have names. We do know that. One is a Finnick or something like that, and then the other is kind of a cat-like creature or whatever. But they're supposed to be clones of Tails, Sonic, and Amy, from what I understand. And that was just my dog. She's just waking up. She's fine. She's got allergies. She's fine. Anyway, like I said, these are two characters that are supposed to be clones of Amy, Tails, and Sonic. So, with that said, this is what Laviarray had to say a day ago. This is what he said, some of these things. This is what he said, and I quote. So I've seen people getting excited about the new IDW Sonic miniseries. And while I get people are excited for new blood in the franchise, I want to give a counterbalance to this discussion, because with everything I know about Flynn, these two aren't going to be good at all. In other words, that being the characters. And then he goes off and kind of gives a little bit of a history, if you will. For example, the first thing he says is this. It basically boils down to Flynn doesn't write villains well, doesn't understand how rivals work, and sadly enough of the main cast isn't developed enough to benefit from either. So what he's getting at basically is, Ian, has a history of not writing decent, villains, anti-heroes, rivals to Sonic and his friends, like any regular or long-term comic book writer, a storyteller should, because it doesn't come up, because obviously based on the history, just from what he's saying, it doesn't come off as well. Continuing on, and I quote, "While Mimic was subpar, a bit a diet envy, Rough and Tumble are too incompetent to be proper threats, or to even be good enough as fodder villains. Zavix, while restricted by Sega, doesn't do much to have a presence other than monologue. As for Starline, well, Starline is technically overpowered. He does nothing to challenge the heroes. He has all these weird powers, but still can't get tripped up. But still, let me read that. But still can get tripped up by a robot head screeching at him. Even the heroes consider him a joke in story." Continuing on. "He also sucks as Eggman's rival, as he does nothing to challenge Eggman as a character. Even in Starline's miniseries, Eggman doesn't even consider Starline as someone who could go up against him, which gets into the next problem. Flynn isn't. Which gets into the next problem. Flynn isn't great with making rivals." Continuing on. "Rivals are characters that need to beat the other, either because they want to prove they are better or to disprove someone else's worldview. Flynn thinks rivals are characters who disagree on something or have a thematic parallel, but never does anything with that dynamic past that. Let's see. Did he finish that? And did I miss something here? Let me check something, guys. Hold on. The wrong thing again. Oh, did I miss something? Let's see. No, I guess I didn't. Oh, wait a minute. He was continuing it, wasn't he? Wasn't he? Hold on. That. Oh yeah. In pre-reboot. Okay, I wasn't missing anything. Okay. In pre-boot Archie, Flynn tried giving a few characters rivals, but besides debatably Scourge, they never amounted to anything other than characters showing they disagree on something. Okay, let me get back to that. Okay. Quote, and he quoted something here. Quote, well, that was a one-off. Flynn can get better with time. Except he did the exact same thing in Reboot Archie, Soft Retcon Reboot Archie, with Tundra for Rotor and Fade with... Okay, let me read that. Except he did the exact same thing in Reboot Archie with Tundra to Rotor and Phage to Nicole. Tundra being his Rotor's dad. Okay. They have thematic parallel, but conflict... Okay, they have a thematic parallel, but conflict never means anything to either character, and it keeps going in IDW. Neo Metal Sonic and Sonic fought during the first arc, but nothing about it was Metal challenging Sonic's worldview or character, which isn't surprising because the characters are barely defined. Even focusing only on Sonic, Tails, and Amy, they don't have enough character development to benefit from getting enemies. They don't have motives past beat bad guy, no personal character conflicts, or currently have any traits that warrant a villain to push them on. Eggman isn't even immune to this. While he still wants to make Eggman Land, he's not doing anything to achieve that, nor is any part of his character that a platypus version of himself that doesn't even make his own tick is going to be able to challenge. Let me reread that. Eggman isn't even immune to this. While he still wants to make Eggman Land, he's not doing anything to achieve that, nor is any part of his character that a platypus version of himself that doesn't even make his own tick is going to be able to challenge. He couldn't even do the reverse for Starline. The whole Bad Guys arc was about Starline learning to be his own character and not make the same mistakes like letting his ego get the better of him. Then, in his next issue, he let his ego get the better of him. So even if this arc has Starline one-up Eggman and makes Eggman nervous, it's not going to amount to anything because there is no groundwork for this challenge to affect Eggman or Sonic's characters. It's going to be one scene, then a reset to the status quo. So the problem that all of this... Okay, let me reread that. Hold on. Okay. So the problem that all of this comes from is caused by a grander issue with IDW and Flynn's creative goals. However, to focus on this miniseries, it's going to be passable at best and a mess most likely. And a mess most likely. Let me reread that. So the problem that all this comes from is caused by a grander issue with IDW and Flynn's creative goals. However, to focus on this miniseries, it's going to be passable at best and a mess most likely. I'm not saying hate the story, I just want to say have low expectations. Now, somebody replied to Laviarray. This is what they replied. This was a Treber. This is what they replied to Laviarray. This is what they replied. They said, "You never have anything good to say about Ian. You're entitled to your own opinion, but bashing characters before they're even introduced isn't cool." And then Laviarray basically said, Am I not allowed to have a negative impression given Ian's track record?" And that was about it, as far as I know. Now, I get well Laviarray, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, and I'm sure they'll be watching, I do apologize if I goofed it up. But Laviarray does have a right to their opinion. There's no doubt about that. You know, they have a right to their opinion, just like we all do. But the point I think that they're getting at here, is, you know, looking at Ian's past as a writer, they notice, they may, in their opinion, from their point of view, they may have noticed a lot of misfires, like a lot of opportunities to do things with potential rivals and anti-heroes and whatever the case may be, during the Archie run, post, you know, soft retcon reboot and pre-softcon reboot, if you will, or soft reboot, soft retcon. You know, they saw all the potential, the opportunities presented to Ian when he took over, but to them, from their point of view, he screwed it up, he messed up. And now looking at IDW, Laviarray, sees the same thing. They're seeing basically Ian Flynn going down the same path of not knowing how to create proper rivals for characters like Sonic, Amy, and Tails, or even Eggman, or even potentially new characters to interact with the heroes. Like maybe they see something amiss with Tangle or Whisper. We don't know. The point is, what they're getting at in closing, because I want to do this before my mom gets home from the gas station, because she's already in Patterson, you know, getting ready to have 2 days off during the weekend. But anyway, basically what this person is getting at is they feel that, you know, we can be excited all we want for this imposter story arc, this miniseries comic that's based, you know, spun off and based in the IDW Sonic world, that we can be excited for all this, and we can be happy about all this, but don't expect it to be a masterpiece. Don't, you know, basically they're saying that, just like they said at the end, don't set your expectations high, because in the long run you're going to be disappointed, because they're basing their opinions from their point of view of how Ian, as I said, had the opportunity to go and do these things, you know, in a great way, in a proper way, in a way that would make characters interesting, stories interesting and all that, and he just blew it. He just, you know, squandered it, basically. Now, I know some people will, you know, probably watch this, if not a lot of people will watch this, and they'll be like, well, what is Ian supposed to do? Ian can do as much as he wants. Yes, he has a little bit more free range than when he, you know, with the comic than he did with Archie, but he can only do so much because of Sega still having limitations. Like, you know, Sonic can't be a certain way because he's Sonic. He's got to win in the end. So does his friends. You know, Eggman can't be a certain way because he's the villain, you know, and he's got to be a certain way. But when it comes to other characters, yeah, the door is open. There's no doubt the door is open, you know, for potential character development. But some people will point out the fact that, you know, with the game characters, there's going to be limitations. That even though Ian Flynn, like I said, has the free range he has now, he still has to follow. And to me, when I listen to what Laviarray has to say here, I get where they're coming from, because I would like the same thing out of any story, out of any Sonic book. I see the potential for something good, and then it gets squandered. So I can see where they're coming from. I really can. I really do. But what they're getting at basically is, although they can understand and respect and appreciate the idea that a lot of fans are looking forward to something new, coming from the IDW Sonic books, that they shouldn't be too excited for it. Because, he points at the fact that they could have done a lot with Scourge. They couldn't do it. They could have done a lot with, let's say, Fiona. Didn't do it. They could have done a lot with, other characters like, Tumble and, like Tumble and Rumble, I think that's the names. And they didn't do it. They didn't do it. He's looking at all these opportunities they had, Ian Flynn, that is, and they look at the fact that like I said earlier, he squandered them from their point of view. So, are they going to be right about this? Will the imposter storyline that's coming out be another disappointment, or will this be the arc that proves someone like Laviarray wrong about Ian Flynn being able to write decent characters that potentially could be rivals, clones, anti-heroes, if you will, in the long run? What do you guys think? Do you think Laviarray has a point, or do you think maybe they're just saying this because they don't like Ian Flynn, period? Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments, as well as during the live chat during the premiere. Like the video, guys. But what do you think? Do you think they're right? Do you think Ian Flynn potentially is going to, blow it here once again, as he's done with other potential similar situations, not just in IDW, but in the pre-soft retcon reboot of Archie, and even the post-soft reboot retcon of Archie? Do you think they'll be right? Or do you think this might be the one where they're proven wrong? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. Like the video. Live chat during the premiere. And I am out.